Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Okay, so do we have anyone here for the first time? Any newcomers to the temple? Yes? Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay. Thank you all for coming to the temple. We usually ask those who are here for the first time to help us to choose the verse that we're going to read from. So if you can give me a number between 1 and 7, please. No, the number between 1 and 7, please. 6, okay. And if yourself, madam, can give me a number between 1 and 9, please.
9.
9, okay. And a number between 1 and 9, please. 7. So we'll read from page 397 of the Bhagavad-Gita. This chapter is entitled The Perfection of Renunciation. And so we're reading from the famous verse, one of the most famous verses of the Bhagavad-Gita. This is chapter 18, text number 66. Okay? So we'll read the verse, the translation, the purport, and then we'll discuss on that basis. So this is Krishna speaking to Arjuna. He says, Sarvadhamam parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishami masukchaha. Translation. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. Purport by His Divine Grace, your A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The Lord has described various kinds of knowledge and processes of religion. Knowledge of the Supreme Brahman, knowledge of the Super Soul, knowledge of the different types of orders and statuses of social life, knowledge of the renounced order of life, knowledge of non-attachment, sense and mind control, meditation, etc. He has described in so many ways different types of religion. Now, in summarizing Bhagavad-Gita, the Lord says that Arjuna should give up all the processes that have been explained to him. He should simply surrender to Krishna. That surrender will save him from all kinds of sinful reactions, for the Lord personally promises to protect him. Okay, in the 7th chapter, it was said that only one who has become free from all sinful reactions can take to the worship of Lord Krishna. Thus one may think that unless he is free from all sinful reactions, he cannot take to the surrendering process. To such doubts it is here said that even if one is not free from all sinful reactions, simply by the process of surrendering to Sri Krishna, he is automatically free. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasudeva Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare. Okay, so the first point to understand is that man is in the religion business, God is in the relationship business. Okay, there's a difference between religion and relationship. So Krishna consciousness is the science of divine relationship. In the modern world, the connotations of religion are often very negative, right? So if you open any newspaper, watch any TV program, and you're hearing about religion, what kind of things do you hear about in regards to religion? What do you hear about when you read the newspapers and watch the TV? What do they mention about religion? Any answers? Any answers? When you hear about religion in the media, what do you hear about? What are they talking about in relation to religion?
It's an opinion.
Sorry?
It's an opinion.
Okay, so one aspect is that religious people are very speculative. They're all allowing their imagination to run away with them. They've all got so many different opinions. Yes, something else.
They refer to them as a group of people. This religion is one group of people, this religion another group of people.
Okay, so very sectarian groupings. Different people against one another in different religious, different religious teams, if you want. Another thing you hear when you hear about religion is conflicts. You hear about religion in relation to war. You hear about religion in relation to terrorism. So generally, in Kali Yuga, religion is a dirty word. Right? In this age of quarrel and hypocrisy, religion is like a 4-letter word. Not only religion, believe in God is like that. Krishna consciousness is very different. Right? Krishna says in the Bhagavad-Gita, he says this is the supreme science of self-realization. Right? Man is in the religion business, God is in the relationship business. Right? Krishna consciousness is transcendental science, meaning that it's not based on faith. Right? Faith has nothing to do with Krishna consciousness, right? In so much as faith has nothing to do with your practical existence. Save for the fact that everything we do is ultimately based upon faith. Faith means the endeavor to make the first step, right? You understand the point? Faith means the reasoning or the understanding that gives one the endeavor or the motivation to make the first step. For example, when you're a very young child, you are observing that the other adults in the room, the other human beings in your association, they can do what? Every single one of them can walk, generally, right? And by your observance that every single one of those people in the room that are with you can walk, you have this faith that if they can do it, they've got 2 legs, it must be something that I can potentially do, right? So then the baby makes the endeavor, right? And in making the endeavor, the baby may fall down so many times, but the baby has the implicit or inherent faith that this ability to walk is within me. And if I practice, then I will become perfect at doing so. So that's faith. Anyone here ever worked for money? Anyone ever done any work for money? Raise your hands. Okay. So did you get the money before you did the work?
No.
Yes or no? Right. You did the work first and you got the payment afterwards, right? How could you know that you were going to get... So did they tell you that if you do this work, I'll pay you? Was that the agreement? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. So what made you think that they were going to follow through on their promise?
Law.
Contract, yeah, but how many... Do you think that in this world people have signed contracts and not followed through? Do you think it's possible in the history of the human race that people have had a contract and people have failed to live up to the contract? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Yeah. So why did you believe, knowing that it could be, that the contract could be broken, that people could be lying, they may have forged the signature, they may pretend to be someone that they weren't? How did you know that when you signed that contract, when they signed that contract, they were still going to follow through on their contract?
Didn't know you took out faith.
Exactly. That's the point.
Experience of others.
Okay, but that doesn't mean that... Right, so let's say you had 5 jobs previously, right? Those are all exclusive things, right? You had 5 jobs previously with someone else. Now you got a new job with another person. Just because the people before paid you doesn't mean that this person's going to pay you. That's faith. Yeah? Even if it's the same employer, just because they paid you 5 times in the past, it doesn't mean they're going to pay you the next time. That's faith. It's faith on good reason, so we're not saying there's anything wrong with that, but it is faith. So as we're stating here, Krishna is talking about giving up all varieties of religion and surrendering unto him. This is technically called transcendental personalism. It means that there's something greater than God. Right? Transcendental personalism technically means that there is something that's actually superior to God. Right? Actually, there are 2 things which are superior to God. The first thing that's superior to God is Krishna. Right? Sounds like a strange statement, but it's a fact. The first thing that is superior to God is Krishna. There are some in the world of personal development. There are leadership teachers and gurus, and one of them emphasizes this principle, and this principle is: will you follow someone because of their position or their personality? Right? So, your boss, for example. You have a boss at work, and some of the people in that organization, they don't even like the boss. They follow because he's the boss, and therefore they have to. Does that make sense? Right? But there are some people in certain organizations who their manager, even if their manager was sacked, and he said, I've been sacked, I'm going to go away and start my own company, do you want to come with me? They would go. You understand the point? Why? Because they're following the personality rather than the position. Does that make sense? Yeah? So the first thing that's superior to God is the personality of Godhead, Krishna. Because God is a position, but there is a personality who is occupying that position. Right? Religion means that you surrender to the position. Krishna consciousness means you surrender to the personality. Most or many religions emphasize the dynamic of fear. If you don't do what God says, He's going to mess you up, man. He's going to mess you up real bad. He's going to slap the taste out of your mouth, right? So you better do what God tells you, or else. So so many people follow religion out of the emphasis of fear. But in the Vedic literatures, in the Bhagavad-Gita, we have a new and eternally fresh concept. Right? This new and eternally fresh concept is called the principle of Madhurya. Right? This means that one is attracted not to the position of God, but to the intense and infinitely attractive sweetness of that personality. A very different concept. Right? This is the difference between following out of fear, following out of need or necessity, and following out of attraction and love. So when Krishna is saying here, ban all varieties of religion, right? He says, just surrender unto me. What this means is you have an eternal relationship. Now let's explore this further. What does it take to make a relationship work? What would you say? In order to make a relationship, you have two people, two personalities, and they're trying to build a relationship. It can be friendship, it can be marriage, whatever it is. What are the elements which are required to make a relationship work? Yes, Irene.
I think the first thing would be trust.
Okay, yeah. Sorry?
Yeah.
The first thing is actually trust, right? Now, unless you have that, let's think about this carefully. If you have anything else in that relationship but there's no trust, will it work? No, right? This is called in Sanskrit Shraddha. There's a step-by-step process of spiritual elevation, a scientific process. It's not sentiment. It's not, I feel like this, I feel like that. It's delineated in such fine detail. And just like we said here, the first principle is Shraddha, right? What else? What would you say is the next requirement for a relationship to work?
Endeavor.
Okay, endeavor. Anyone? Any other answers? What do you think is the next thing up to make a relationship work?
Love.
Love. Okay, but that's a very broad term. But I want specifics. Good point. But yes.
Selflessness.
Selflessness. Someone else?
Spend time together.
Okay. Yeah, that's the answer I was looking. These are all correct.
Yeah.
But specifically, you want to spend time together, right? You need to have interaction, right? Because it's a relationship. It means that you have to be there, the person has to be there. The trust is a foundation, then there needs to be some kind of interaction. You may go further, you may say that you then need to also engage in some activity of exchange between yourself and the other person. Activity of exchange can be speaking, it could be writing letters, it could be cooking for the other person. There needs to be some kind of activity of exchange or service. And all of these elements build to bring about a very tight relationship. So just as that is there in the external sense, that is also there in the transcendental and spiritual sense as well. So there is a science. No one has to believe in Krishna, but the science begins with surrender. It begins with trust. Now, let's go further. If it begins with trust, what will make you trust someone? Why? In other words, think of the people that you trust in this world, right? And you tell me, or we share with each other, why do you trust those people? Why do we trust those people?
Example?
Sorry?
Because there's example.
What do you mean by example?
You see, a person behaves properly.
Okay, so one aspect of trust is the person behaves properly. Something else?
I was going to say consistency in what they say and then they follow through.
Okay, good. So they walk their talk. They say they're going to do something, they follow through with their commitments. So, example, living, honoring commitments. Something else. What builds trust in someone?
Reliability.
Sorry?
Reliability.
Reliability. Okay, so similar thing that they say they're going to do something, they follow through, they're consistent, right? They live up to what they say. Is that fair? Yep. Okay, so they're reliable, they honor commitments, and they have a good example. Something else?
One's subjective experience, one just feels nice. Subjective opinion,
Okay, but that subjective opinion is based on something. That opinion, there's something that's giving you that subjective opinion. It's like if someone's trying to rob you at knife point, you don't say, well, subjectively, I still think they're a nice person. There's something that's giving you that subjective opinion. Yes.
Honor commitments.
Okay, we mentioned that. Honor commitments.
They admit mistakes.
They admit mistakes. Okay, interesting. Yes. They're also able to admit mistakes. Yes.
I was thinking sharing, willingness to exchange.
Oh, wonderful. So they are also willing to give and take. Okay. So let's examine that. First point is personal example. So sometimes people say, well, I don't really see why I should accept that there's a God. What has he ever done for me? Right? Interesting question. Right? What has God ever done for me? But let's look at that very scientifically. If the teachings of any religion, not just Krishna consciousness, any spiritual process is true, then aham sarvasya prabhavo mata savam pravartate iti matvajante mam Bhuta Bhavana Prabhu. If any religion is correct, then everything that you have has come from someone or something beyond yourself, isn't it? Anyone in this room says that I decided how tall I was going to be, right? That you design your genetic material, right? No. Anyone in this room can say that I determined who my family was. I designed my mum and dad, right? I made them the way that I wanted them to be. Anyone, right? Okay, what about the air that you breathe? Anyone created that, right? I put the air supply in the air. I put the oxygen there for myself and for other people, obviously. Right. This planet that you exist on, you created it, right? Anyone? Right? You created the food, the crops. You may say I grew some, but the seeds that you used to grow and the land that you used to grow, you put the land there, right? Anyone? So everything that you have, everything that you use, everything, without any exception, has come from someone else. Right? You may manipulate the elements, but the elements have been provided by someone else. Right? It's like it's your birthday when you're 5 years old. Your parents give you some pocket money. You go out, you buy a birthday, let's say it's your mum's birthday. You're a 5-year-old kid, it's your mum's birthday. You go to the shop with the pocket money that your mum gave you. You buy a birthday card for your mum. You say, here mum, I got you a birthday card. Mum said, oh, that's so cute, that's so beautiful, right? But where did that birthday card come from? You got the birthday card, but how did you get the means by which to get the birthday card? It came from your mother. You understand the point? So everything that we have, all of these elements are coming from a superior source. So no one can say that God has done nothing for me, right? No one can say that God has done nothing for me. In fact, God has done everything for everyone. He's done it in the past. He does it in the present. He will continue to do in the future. You cannot get a better personal example of consistent reliability than that. You will never find in the history of humanity any living entity who is as consistent as the supreme personality of Godhead. Now, in terms of honoring commitments, how do we know what God's promise is? The only way you can understand who your father is through your mother. Right? You can only understand who your father is by hearing from your mother, because she is the natural authority on that particular area of life. Right? So in a similar vein, the natural authority on God's desire is called Shastra. Right? Or in English we say Vedic literature or scripture. Yeah? So this is where you get to hear about the commitment. Now you may say, how do I know that he's not telling, how do you know that this is actually from God? Some people argue that. Well, how do you know that it's not been written by some human being? Right? Anyone ever use Google Maps? Google Maps? Right? Any kind of online map? Right? Whether it's on your phone or something like that. Anyone ever used it, right? Okay. Now, you went on a website, it said Google Maps, right? You put in a postcode or whatever, you got a certain map, a certain direction. How do you know it's from Google? Fair question, right? We're questioning whether this is from God. Let's look at Google Maps. How do you know that's from Google? Right? How do you know it's from Google?
It says so.
It says so, right? And that's not a small thing. It seems a very simple answer, But actually, it's a very interesting answer, right? You know it's from Google because it's got the branding. It says this is from Google, right? In a similar way, this Vedic literature, it says, Krishna says, I'm speaking, right? Arjuna, he says here, abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. He's speaking. He says he's speaking. Now, you have that first idea. You know it's from God because God's saying it's from me. But you want to go further than that. Because that's not conclusive. It's an indicator, but it's not conclusive. So how are you going to check? When you look on Google Maps and you get a map of how to find some place, how do you ultimately know that the map is correct? How do you ultimately know that the map that you get on Google is correct?
Follow the directions.
You follow the directions, right? So let's be very clear on this. I've heard the statement, Google Maps says this is how you get to your location. It could be lying. There could be someone making up the particular website. There could be someone speculating about the directions. It could be lying. But I will know conclusively by following the directions, and if I follow the directions and I get to my destination, does it give me good reason, good faith to consider that the map was actually from Google and it was correct, yes or no? Yeah. So the same thing in scripture. So Krishna's speaking, he's saying, Satatam Kirtayanto Mam, right? You should chant my glories, chant my holy names, right? If you serve me, you will come to the platform which is called the Vasudev platform. You'll be able to see me face to face and you'll be able to hear me. That's what he's saying, right? Now, just like Google Maps, he could be lying. But there's one way to know conclusively. And the conclusive way to know is the same way that you conclusively know anything, right? So what that means is religion implies the exact same amount of faith that you use for every single thing that you do in this world. Not more. Not more. Same. Same. But there's another concept, there's another component to that. You use the same faith in religion that you use for anything else, but when you do anything in this world, how lasting is the result? Right? Does the result last forever? Is there anything you've done in this world which is going to give you an eternal result? Is there any such thing as a material act which gives an eternal result? Yes or no?
No.
No. Right? And does anyone in the material world logically claim that if you follow this material process, the result will last forever? Anyone? No. Do you ever look at an advert for a restaurant and the restaurant says, if you eat here, you'll never be hungry again. You'll be full forever. Do you ever get that? Right. Okay. When you watch a movie, does the movie ever tell you, watch this film. When you see this movie, you'll never need to watch another movie again? No. Right? Any claim. When you decide to join a gym, right? Because the love handles are kind of expanding a bit, right? When you join a gym, does the gym membership say that if you come to this gym just once, you'll be trim and in shape forever, right? Does anyone ever claim that? I'm just checking, right? Okay, good, right? Now, the difference is this: same faith in all these activities, but here, very different result claimed, right? Here, the claim is if you do this, whatever spiritual benefit you get, that will be eternally in your bank account, right? I mean eternally, right? You put the spiritual credit in, it will just stay there. You will never lose that spiritual credit. There will be an eternal result from what you're doing. That's a big claim, right? That's a powerful claim. Still, the point is, it's a big claim, but how do we know? It comes back to the same point. You have to do something. So anyone who says that I don't like it because you can't check, they're wrong. Anyone who says, well, why do I have to check? You can say that, and you can be an honest and mature person in saying that if you don't do any other activity. That's consistent, right? Consistent means I complain about having to check religion, and I complain about having to check anything, because that's consistent. Not that I'm happy to put some effort into checking everything else. But when it comes to religion, why should I have to check? Or why doesn't God just appear before me? Right? It doesn't work in the material world, but why should you expect it to work on the spiritual platform? That's called hypocrisy. Right? If I want to have a relationship with anyone in this world, I have to put some effort in. But if I want a relationship with God, why should I have to put some effort in? Why doesn't He just do whatever I want, when I want? That's called hypocrisy. Right? So Krishna consciousness, this is not for hypocrites. It's a real statement of human civilization that the majority of living entities on this planet at this particular point in time are immature. Right? Let's be really, we're not here to flatter people's egos. We're just going to be very honest. Most people are immature. The mental and emotional age of the majority of living entities on this planet practically does not go beyond 10 years old. Right? How can I state that? How can I make such a claim? I make it because most people are not really prepared to see and accept the truth. You'll get lots of silly, illogical, inconsistent arguments because people don't really want to understand what's really going on in life. But because people have an intelligence, they have to make up some philosophy to justify being in ignorance. Right? That's what goes on. So here you have this science, Adi Atma Vidya Vidyanam. Krishna says, of sciences and the supreme science of self-realization. He didn't say religion. He didn't say belief process. He didn't say speculation. He said, I am the supreme science of self-realization. Science means theory, experiment, conclusion. Theory is there's a supreme person and you can know him. Experiment is loving service, particularly chanting the names of Krishna. That is a very powerful, loving service we can render unto God. And the abhideya, the conclusion, is that you will see Krishna and hear him, not when you die and go to God. Right? It's not Pascal's wager. It's not that I'm gambling on the idea that there's a God and I die and I find out that my gamble was correct or false. This is not Pascal's wager. This is you see God, you hear God today in your life, in this lifetime, before you leave your body, depending on how serious and how sincere you are. That's powerful, right? That's consistent. That's objective evidence for those people who are prepared to check. Right? Immaturity means I want to close my eyes because I think that being in ignorance is bliss. I don't want to know God really. Right? I want to believe it's all a load of rubbish so that I can carry on doing whatever I'm doing. But if you look at it, do you see that the people in this world are happy? Anyone? Is the average person in Western society or anywhere on this planet, from your experience, do you find that the average person is happy? No. So if the evidence is that the norm leads to unhappiness because people are doing a lot of average and normal activity and their normal experience is that they're unhappy, then isn't it worth checking out alternatives? It would make sense, wouldn't it? Right? And moreover, this alternative you can check out in your own time. It doesn't cost you anything. In fact, you'll be given. In this endeavor to check, you receive. Krishna will give you. You come to this temple, every day you get delicious free spiritual food. Every day you get free spiritual philosophical discourses. Every day you'll get free spiritual ceremonies. Right? Every day. Right? In many cases, you'll get free books to look at. If they see that you're genuine, that people will give you free books to read as a gift. Right? In other words, Krishna is breaking his heart to show you that he cares. Right? This is why we emphasize personalism above and beyond position. Because Krishna wants you to know that as a loving heart, a feeling, loving, eternal personality, he cares about you deeply and intensely. It's not religious philosophy, it is spiritual relationship. Right? And the philosophy is simply the philosophy of how to have a loving exchange with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's it. Nothing else, right? It's not blind following. It's not some kind of dogma, right? It's just a deep and rich understanding of what goes on between you and the Supreme Person in the spiritual highest kingdom as well. This is how powerful it gets. Right? And one last thing, what does Krishna says? He says that his devotees are experiencing great bliss and satisfaction from enlivening one another about him. This is the final point. So the final point is, why would you even waste your time about this God stuff? Right? I mean, let's be honest. Okay, even if you accept that the only way to know conclusively is to check, why would you waste your time checking this stuff out? You could check out so many other things, right? There's so many other clubs, groups. There's so many other things people are doing. You could be checking out skydiving. You could be checking out, I don't know, anything you wanted. Right? Why would you check this? Again, good reason. Krishna is saying that if you do this, you'll be eternally blissful. Right? Would you do anything without the possibility of happiness? Think about it carefully. If any activity had absolutely no possibility of happiness by engaging in it, would it be worth your time?
No.
It wouldn't be worth your time. You're only doing these things, we're only acting because we think that there's something in that particular pursuit. I do this pursuit, I think I'm going to get something from it. Right? Why are people watching X Factor? They're expecting they're going to get something from it. Why do people go to university? They're expecting they're going to get something from it. Why do people want to be famous? They're expecting they're going to get something from it. So unless there's a promise of return, there's no activity. Right? This is human psychology. Unless there's a promise of return, there is no activity. So here, what's being claimed is that you will have the greatest return because this is the greatest activity. So, we encourage you not to blindly accept, and we encourage you not to blindly reject. We encourage you to intelligently explore and experiment. And I'll be very honest, we're speaking to those people in this room who are mature. Some of the people in this room may not be mature, therefore you want an excuse to think it's a load of rubbish so you can run away. Fine, but remember, the people that you're following, they're not happy. Right? Krishna, through the pages of the Bhagavad-Gita, is giving an invitation to ecstasy. Right? The Bhagavad-Gita is a divine invitation to ecstasy, to ecstatic life. Right? Material life is static, spiritual life is ecstatic. That's the point. Krishna consciousness is an invitation to ecstasy. And we encourage you to explore this invitation. The easiest way to explore is the mantra meditation or practice of chanting, even if it's for a few minutes a day, the holy names of Krishna. So in our tradition, we emphasize this, what's called Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. The Hare Krishna Maha Mantra is the SOS of the soul. Right? It is the SOS of the soul. So the soul calling for its eternal position of intense, loving ecstasy and relationship with the supremely attractive, the all-attractive person. That is the endeavor of Krishna consciousness. It is where religion ends and relationship, spiritual relationship begins. Okay. Thank you very much for your time. Hare Krishna. Okay, very quickly, any questions or comments, very briefly? No? Okay, so we'll stop there.
Can you elaborate on the last point? So you say more about that point.
Okay.
Not necessarily.
Okay. Just very briefly, because I need to go to another program. But just, yeah, people are tired of restriction. People need a loving relationship which is not going to let them down. Because with living entity, the experience of material existence is that your heart will become broken. That is material existence. Material existence is like an affair where you lose. Right? You have some relationship with someone and they let you down. Whether they meant to or didn't mean to, they let you down. Right? That's the nature of the material affair. But the alternative to the material affair is the divine romance. In the divine romance, you have to be dealing with someone who has the ability, the quality, the power to follow through on all respects, in all respects. Right? That's Krishna. That's Krishna, meaning that he's that person who no external circumstances can hold back. Right? Someone may say that I want to love you, but then there may be so many external circumstances that hold them back. And one external circumstance that will hold back every single person is death. These people that you love the most, you should know that one day your heart will be broken because they're going to leave you. They will not mean to leave you. It won't necessarily be deliberate, but they are going to die. Therefore, your heart is going to be broken. And you may say, well, I'll leave before them. But then you're going to break their heart. Right? So, relationships that last forever mean that they have to be on the eternal platform. Right? So who's on that eternal platform? That's Krishna.
And the jivas who...
Yes. But the point is, first of all, the most important thing to understand, that's Krishna. Right? The point is, we need to know who is the source of love. And how do we develop that loving exchange? I'll take your comment in 1 second, sir. But how do we develop that loving exchange with that person? And this is the science that is given in the Bhagavad-Gita. Because in the Bhagavad-Gita, Krishna wants us to know the real science of love. Right? And if we love Krishna, you will actually develop love for everyone. Why? Because Krishna says that, listen, Mamai Vamso Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana Manashishtani Nindriyani Prakritishtani Kashti Mama Eva Amsa. He says, every living entity is my part and parcel. Amsa means part and parcel. So if you love Krishna, you will find, and try and imagine this. What would life be like if you could honestly say that everywhere you go, everyone you meet, you felt an intense, unconditional love for them? Wouldn't that be a great experience? That wherever you go, you felt an intense, genuine, not just a nice feeling, a genuine love, feeling and compassion for every single person that you came into contact with. That is the position of a pure lover of Krishna. If a person loves Krishna purely, they will automatically love every living entity. Right? And they will find that their life is a life where they're drowning. Right? Drowning in an ocean of love for Krishna and every member of Krishna's eternal family. And that doesn't just include the humans, by the way. That's from the humans all the way down to the insects. Right? All the way down to the insects. An intense love for every living entity. That's when you're living. Right? That's the invitation to ecstasy. Right? Okay. I think you had you had your hand raised, sir?
Yeah, I just want to make a point, Prabhu, about these different relationships between people. We have to understand who we are, our identification of our own personality, before we can realise the personality of anybody else.
Yes, that's very right.
This I think is a very important point. If you don't understand who you are not going to understand who Krishna is.
Yeah. Very good point. Thank you very much for that. So this is actually also very important to mention, and this is the first teaching of the Bhagavad-Gita. To love everyone, we have to understand the unity with diversity. The unity is that we're spirit souls, we're spiritual beings having a material experience. The conflicts in this world occur because we think that we're material beings having a spiritual experience. So identity means what? I'm an eternal spiritual being who is eternally a loving servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And this is not just words. This is something that you can experience, you can feel with every inch of your being. Right? Because Krishna consciousness isn't one-dimensional. It's not a philosophical belief. It is something which is experienced with the entire being, and ultimately which is experienced with the softened heart. A pure, soft, loving heart which is overflowing with affection for everyone. So we really encourage you to explore this science and to drown in the ocean of spiritual ecstasy, spiritual love, and that diving in, that invitation to ecstasy, that is Krishna consciousness. Right? And the taste is received by the chanting of the holy names of Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And on that point I'll stop. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Oh, praise Bhavana Prabhu ki jai.
Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Janata Go Premanandi.